Boker Tov. Good morning. Hope you're having a great beginning to your week. It's an interesting week. For one, we enter on Shabbat the 9 days, which is the saddest mourning period in Judaism, and we mourn the destruction of the temple. We also began the book of Deuteronomy, in Hebrew called Dvarim, which means the words, because Moses speaks to the Jewish people. The last 37 days of Moses' life, he does what we call Deuteronomy, a repetition. All that has gone past the Jewish people in the past 40 years, for them to learn lessons, to take it to heart, as only a father could do to their child before their passing. But the verse opens up like this: Eila hadvarim, these are the words, Asher diber Moshe, which Moses spoke, El Kol Yisrael, to all the Jewish people. Now, the rabbis are perplexed by one word, because you see, Moses spoke to the Jewish people a lot of times in the Torah, but usually Moshe would say, Vaydaber Moshe El Bnei Yisrael, to the children of Israel. Here, instead of saying El Bnei Yisrael, to the children of Israel, he says El Kol Yisrael, to all of Israel. And the question is, why the change in words? And the rabbi says something very profound. You know, I remember once sitting by a bar mitzvah of a dear friend who had 3 boys. And he looks at me and he says, there's one thing I ask for my children for when I'm not here anymore: that they get along between themselves with each other, that they love each other, look out for each other, and care for each other. Those were the words he said to me. Moshe is the leader of the Jewish people, the nurturing father who shepherded them through the desert for 40 years, who took them out of Egypt, who showed them so much love. The last thing Moshe does, as he's about to go on his last journey before his passing in the end of Deuteronomy, he says, he calls the Jews closer, and he says, El Kol Yisrael. He says, you want to know what's the most important thing? Is that the Jewish people, should be kol, should be united, should be everyone together. You can't just think about you, about your spouse, about your children, about your tribe, about your family. You need to think about the whole Jewish people, because really we're one family. Says Moshe, if you want to know what's going to ensure the future of Bnei Yisrael, of the children of Israel, it's Kol Yisrael. When those children are kol, are united, are thinking out and looking out for each other, one for the other, not just saying, what am I going to get? How am I going to be better? But recognizing that we're a big family and we need each other. I always remember the story about this man who was passing, and he calls his children and he gives each of his sons a stick. And he tells them to break the stick. And each one takes the stick and they put it on the knee and they break it, not so hard. And then he gives each one of them a bundle. And he says, I want you to break the bundle of sticks. And they put it on their knee once, twice. And soon they realize they're quicker going to break their knee than they're going to break the sticks. And they say, Dad, what's going on here? What's the message? And of course the dad says it's very simple. The only way that your guys are going to survive and thrive is if you're together. If you think beyond yourself, but about someone else. And that's why Moses opens up this last journey, this last talk, which will take the entire last book of the Torah. And he says, El Kol Yisrael, I'm speaking to you, children of Israel. I need you to be kol, to think beyond yourself. You know, I heard the story about this woman who got divorced, and it was a nasty divorce. Her husband fought her tooth and nail and everything. It was not pleasant. A couple years later, the husband has kidney failure, and he needs a new kidney. And lo and behold, believe it or not, she goes to get tested, and the ex-wife finds out that she's a match to give him a kidney. And she goes, and she does the surgery, and she saves his life. She gives him a kidney. And one of her friends look at her and say, I don't understand. He fought you tooth and nail. He made your life so miserable. What are you doing? Why would you think of giving him a kidney? And she looks at a friend, And she said, just because I'm miserable, just because I was frustrated, doesn't mean my children don't deserve a father. Think not just about yourself, but Al Kol Yisrael. And this takes extra meaning and purpose in the 9 days, because this is the time when we mourn the temple and we think about strengthening our love for each other. Have a great